Hi, Scott Tipton. I wanted to be able to give you an update on some of the issues we've been working on in Washington this past week. I'd like to be able to begin with the EPA, and you'd be tempted to say it's an egregious effort of the latest rules and regulations coming out of the EPA, but it is the continuing overreach of effectively what is becoming a rogue agency, impacting American families, our ability to be able to provide for our families' future, impacting jobs, impacting, frankly, common sense. We can all start up with a very common ground, that we believe in clean water, we believe in clean air. But now we've seen the EPA through rule, which means that not one member of Congress is going to be voting on this. It's going to simply be coming out of the bureaucracy, attempt to have the largest water grab in American history on what they call their navigable waters. They're now supplementing that with a rule that they tried to be able to sneak by in terms of garnishing wages, in terms of their penalty phases. We've seen a 160% increase in fines by the EPA. Again, let's underscore this. We all believe in clean air and clean water and want to make sure that things are done right. But the problem is we're seeing an agency that is on a mission to fine and punish as opposed to actually trying to be able to solve some of the challenges that we face. We need to look no further than the rancher up in Wyoming who met with all state requirements to be able to put in a stock pond and is now threatened with $74,000 in fines. They now want to be able to reach into that rancher's hip pocket and pull that money out. You know, in the United States of America, we've had a very good premise for the American people. It's just called justice. You are innocent until you are proven guilty. The EPA's policy right now is that you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent, and the only appeal process is back to the very EPA that wants to fine you in the first place. This must stop. We're pushing back as a result of letters that we have joined in with a number of other members of Congress. We saw the EPA step back from this fast-tracked rule, which was supposed to take effect in just a couple of short months. They've now delayed the comment period until September 2nd. I'd invite you to go on to the website of the EPA to register your comments in regards to this garnishment of wages. We have a judicial system in this country that we need to be able to protect as well, to be able to protect our citizenry when it comes to actually dealing with fines and punishment. The government has to prove you're wrong. You shouldn't have to be able to prove your innocence. We've also introduced a couple of pieces of legislation that I think reflect a lot of the common concerns that we have in the 3rd Congressional District of Colorado and extend throughout the western United States as well. That's protecting our private property rights. The BLM recently has been conducting a number of resurveys, and in many of these cases we've seen private property being appropriated by the federal government in these resurveys. Just simply taking private property is something that the government should not be allowed to do. We want to make sure that we're going to have actual recourse from private landowners who have been abiding by the law, in often cases applying with state permits that have been approved, to make sure that their private property rights are protected, their ability to be able to provide for their families as well when it comes to mining, when it comes to ranching, to farming as well, are truly going to be protected. That's what that first piece of legislation is going to be able to address. We have a second piece of legislation that, again, it revolves around some of the public lands, to where the federal government is trying to acquire lands. We want to make sure that adjoining landowners are going to be notified of those actions beforehand and not after the fact. We've seen real impacts up in the Steamboat area and throughout the 3rd Congressional District of some of those land acquisitions and how it is impacting families' abilities to be able to carry on their traditional functions, be it in farming and ranching, or just enjoying their property as well. We need to make sure that we're having a government that's working on behalf of the people, not the other way around, where the government are supposed to be working, where the people are supposed to be working for the government. These are important issues that we think are going to be needing continuing attention coming out of the 3rd Congressional District. These two pieces of legislation will help address that. The last point I'd like to talk about today is dealing with the IRS. Again, we've seen an agency far overstep its bounds, targeting American citizens simply because of their political belief. And I think that we can all truly agree, no matter where you're at on the political spectrum, if you're left, right, if you're libertarian, if you're in the middle, the IRS should not be used as a political arm to be able to enforce a political agenda. We just passed legislation that I have supported to make sure that we're going to be prohibiting bonuses going to IRS officials. And it's worthy of note, we have people in the IRS who haven't paid their taxes that were receiving a bonus That's simply not right, particularly when we look at this better than $17 trillion debt that we have in this country. We need that fiscal accountability, and we need an agency that's trying to enforce the rules to make sure that they are abiding by those same rules as well. We hope that you contact our office on any of the issues that you see impacting us at home. We're continuing to focus really on what I believe is most important as I travel throughout our district. That's about jobs for our families, creating security for moms and dads who are trying to be able to provide for their children, and to be able to create that security and those opportunities that we all believe is part of that American dream. Again, feel free to contact our office, and we appreciate all of the input that you've given us. Thanks so much.